Hey guys, welcome back. Should I just sell up and buy this camera today? Hey guys, so today we're talking about the Kinefinity MAVO large format 6K camera. Now, I lent this camera from Pro AV, shout out to those guys, thank you so much for lending it to me. So I've never used a Kinefinity camera before. Now they've been on my radar because I like to stay up to date with camera tech and what the latest camera tech is, and to be honest, I've just never purchased one. I've had Blackmagic for a long time, I had RED before that. It was never really something I was seriously considering, if I'm being honest, until this came along. Despite what I said earlier, I'm not going to go out and buy this camera because I just bought a camera, I just bought a RED Komodo. But if I hadn't bought a RED Komodo, this thing would be on my radar, and it should be on your radar really, because it's a great camera. There is a lot packed into this camera, and it's designed very similar to some other cameras out there. This screen reminds me very much of the Alexa. Now this camera does take quite a long time to boot up, but then it's a cinema camera. Most cinema cameras take some time to boot up. Now there is an option for a battery plate that you can get for this, that you can actually put batteries into the battery plate. Now the battery plate connects to the camera with a little connector at the bottom, so you don't need any extra cables, and that would allow you to hot swap batteries if that's what you want to do. I have chosen, as I've been using it, to rig it up without that battery plate just to save on some weight. Now that sound does go down, the fans do ramp down when you're recording. It's keeping cool, as cameras should. Yeah, it reminds me very much of like the Alexa, even like some of the Sonys, the F5. Very accessible, lots of buttons for you to just change those settings. Also, the screens on these work with the camera, so you can change the settings right from the screen. Also, another option that I used a little bit was there's an eyepiece you can use, a little EVF, which is quite nice. Quite small screen in there, but when you're shooting outdoors in bright sunlight, it's quite nice to have a little EVF. Yeah, the camera probably is a similar weight and shape to the Komodo. It's possibly a little bit heavier than the Komodo. I don't know if that's just because of how I've got my Komodo rigged up. One of the things I like about this, it's not quite as straightforward as like the RF mount on the Komodo, but it does have interchangeable lens mounts. Now, the lens mount that I've got on here is a PL lens mount. Also came with an E mount, and I think you can get various other mounts as well available. There is another model, a more expensive model of this, which comes with built-in NDs. Bit of a price hike to get to the next one that's got the internal NDs. They really put a bunch of ports on this camera. You've got 2 SDI outs. They do mirror each other, so if you are hoping to take one out to a monitor for your DP and one for the director, they are going to do the same. You can't independently change them. So if you want one without the LUT and one with the LUT, that's going to be difficult unless the monitor that you're using can have LUTs on. Something I really like about this camera is the back. You've got essentially 2 battery mounts built into it. Now you've got a V-lock mount built into it, which is the kind of standard one I'm used to. And then you've got another smaller mount that you can put these little batteries in. If you're going onto a gimbal, when I had it rigged up to the gimbal, this little battery here, just pop that in. Also some full-sized XLRs on the top of the camera, which are a really nice touch. Your soundies are going to love those. It's going to save you having to use extra cables. Really nice to just be able to plug a full-sized XLR into the top of your camera. Now, the media is really interesting for this camera. I will say it's expensive if you buy the official media from Kinefinity. I think it's about £1,000 for a terabyte. And the thing about this camera is it doesn't shoot RAW. It does shoot every variation of ProRes you could think of. ProRes is data heavy if you're shooting like 422HQ, and this shoots 6K. So if you're shooting 6K 422HQ, that's some hefty file sizes. And if you shoot 4444, which, if you're doing green screen or something like that, that's going to fill up your terabyte card in I think around 20 something minutes you're going to get on there. So that is terabyte of footage in under 30 minutes. That's insane. You can buy your own casing and you can put your own NVMEs in. I prefer to just get media that I know is good. It's not the kind of thing I want to be messing around with when I'm shooting footage that is very, very valuable at times. But it's an option. They give you an option. You can just buy the media from them. A little bit pricey, but then again, you know, most official media, RED. It's expensive. Now, the really cool thing about these cards though, comes with a little USB-C port on the side. So there's no need for you to dock these into card readers. You can just plug your USB-C cable in, providing you've got a fast enough transfer one, and you can dump the footage off this quickly. It is fast. Backing up media off this thing goes quick. And that's a really nice touch, to be honest, because, you know, it's one less thing to carry around with you and forget, which on very few occasions I may have forgot my card reader. What I did find with this camera, interestingly enough, as I've been shooting with it, is I was shooting a lot in open gate, using the full resolution of the sensor. Now it's an interesting format that I haven't shot a lot of stuff with. I liked it, I have to say, you know, it's got a very different feel to something like, you know, shooting anamorphic where you get really wide footage. There's something kind of strangely beautiful about the frame. I think it's because it sits closer to like a photograph. So I was finding myself wanting to compose a nice frame and just let things happen in the frame. Sounds a little bit arty, but that's, yeah, I shot some really nice stuff on this camera. Now I did put it on a gimbal because I got to put everything on a gimbal. You got to see if you can get it on the gimbal. RS3 Pro managed this no problem. No problem at all. Balanced, easy shot. I had it paired up with the LiDAR sensor to make these lenses autofocus. That LiDAR sensor is a dream. And I shot some really nice footage on this camera, I have to say. I got a little bit crazy with the flares. Apologies. These lenses particularly flare as well, but I don't know, there was something that made me just want this camera. You know, as I was saying in my previous video, if I had this, my Komodo, you know, the FX6, there's definitely times that I'm going to be reaching for this, and especially films, like certain films, I feel would really suit this. Yeah, full frame open gate is really nice to shoot. I guess it's kind of like the digital IMAX camera for me, because I'm shooting Super 35 most of the time. It's not IMAX. It's not IMAX, it's a much smaller sensor. Shooting on a Super 35 and then coming to full frame, it does feel like you're getting that camera a lot closer, which is really nice in some scenarios, and I've really enjoyed my time with this. And I will say there are some issues that I think could be worked out with firmware in this camera, just a couple of things like the monitor displaying some kind of blue speckled dots, but you know, it's not on the footage, it's the monitor thing. It wasn't in the EVF either. But overall, the camera as I've been using it, it's been working perfectly. It's been giving me great looking stuff. If I hadn't just bought my RED camera and I was in the market, this would be a serious contender for me. Price wise, it sits at a similar price range to the Komodo. If you want to go for the one with built-in NDs, it's going to get more expensive. And also you can get a Super 35 version of this camera as well. So if you're not looking, or maybe you don't have full frame lenses, you could go for the Super 35 version, which is cheaper, and that makes it a serious contender because that knocks, I think, about $1.50 off this price tag. This thing with a side handle on would be amazing for me. And I also love that the monitor is just one cable. No power, draws power, transmits an image, and that's a really nice feature. Something I wish my Komodo had. I'd really like to try the one with built-in NDs, just see how that affects the weight of the camera and stuff. I think that this camera just has a space inside where those NDs would go, so it's not like there's another bit on the front of the camera. So yeah, I'm gonna give you a roundup now of some of the footage that I've shot with it. I'd love to hear what you think of the footage. Is it for you? Is it not for you? Let me know in the comments. If you have a Kinefinity, if you've used them in the past, let me know what your experience of using the camera is, how you found it over the years. Is this a contender for you? Is this something that you might purchase for your next camera? You got any questions about this camera? Let me know. And thanks again to the guys over at Pro AV. Really appreciate lending this camera and testing it out. And yeah, leave a comment, leave a like. I'll catch you next time. Enjoy the footage.
What's there to hold in the light of this moon? My mind keeps searching, but my heart decides. Thoughts can be cruel, they're not mine to own. The space unravels when you let go. What's yours, it ain't mine. That energy goes today The feather in the fire will blow it home your way. Moon mother, open your arms. Moon mother, this magic's just begun. Moon mother, reach for my heart so I can feel your essence in me. What's there to hold in the light of this moon? My mind keeps searching, but my heart decides. Thoughts can be cruel, they're not mine to hold. The space unravels when you